Hey everybody, welcome to That Expert Show, where you help run the show. I'm Anna Canzano. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being with us. I'm so excited that we are talking fitness today with this renowned expert out of Manhattan. She really knows her stuff and has an incredible personal story of how she lost 60 pounds in just a year in a healthy and sustainable way. Sustainable because she has kept that weight off for the last 14 years and has basically made it her life mission to help other people get fit as well. I want to thank the good people at Shoe Mill for their support. This is a multi-generational family business. They have the best shoes, the best service. Stick around and I'll tell you how to get a promo code for a special expert show deal at Shoe Mill and at shoemill.com. All right, so fitness. This is a topic that I've personally been interested in because I don't know, I had 2 kids in 2 years and I wasn't like unhappy about my body, but I also wasn't fully satisfied that I was as fit as I could be and as strong and as lean and just feeling better. You know, I was trying to work off the baby weight. I was running up to 3 miles, which is a lot for me because I hate running, but I still wasn't feeling great. So I'm curious to see what this expert has to say for those of us who just want to make some progress in how we look and how we feel. Her name is Dyan Tsiumis, and she is the founder of Get Fierce Training, which is a holistic fitness company. She is the head instructor and director of training at Swerve Fitness, which this is interesting. It's the only team cycle studio in the world. She's been featured in Shape Magazine, Women's Health, Health Magazine, and Fitness. And Dyan Tsiumis joins us live from Manhattan today. Dyan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I sound so fancy when you do my intro.
Well, you have accomplished so much. Like, it's amazing to me that you have devoted your life to this thing that began for you back when you were in college, I think you said, right?
Right. Yeah, 100%. I grew up an athlete outside of Boston. I always played sports, but I was thicker growing up. I like to say thicker instead of overweight, which I definitely was. But I always played sports and I was always part of teams and I always loved that kind of camaraderie. And I stopped playing sports when I went to college. I majored in athletic training, which was a big part of me giving back. I loved the science of exercise. So between stopping working out and playing sports and having all the fun in college, I gained about 50 pounds when I went away to school. And then the day, I remember it was senior week of college, and I got on the scale and I was like, oh my God, I weigh 200 pounds. Like, if you can't tell, I'm 5 feet tall. And that's just, I was essentially a round ball. And I was like, I have to do something. So I started like getting myself fit. I moved to New York. I had a bunch of corporate jobs, but then I knew like once I had gotten myself fit, I was like, I want to do this for other people. And for me, that just meant I had to and did become a personal trainer. I studied in group fitness, so I became certified in a bunch of different formats, cycling and kettlebells and kickboxing and dance and step aerobics and all of these different formats. And then realized you can work out all day and night, but you really need to eat well in addition to all of that. So I studied at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And then the thing that I kept personal for a long time was the kind of mental piece of it, which was for me meditation. And then it was like, oh, I get to do meditation and move and yoga. So I just got back from a 30-day yoga instructor training too. So I love this, to say the least. So, and I'm happy and like so passionate about this. I'm like beyond excited to be here with you today to
That's
answer
so great.
all the
I
questions.
appreciate that because, part of the challenge, I think, for a lot of people is figuring out the right fitness plan because it's not a one size fits all kind of thing. You really have to figure out what works for you. And for the longest time, I am anti-class. I'm going to work out by myself. I'm not coordinated enough to do Zumba and all that crazy stuff. So I found Pilates recently in the last couple of months, and that seems to be working for me for right now. But, and maybe in a couple of months, something else will work. But I think that's what's so cool about talking with you today is because we have actually a number of people who have already submitted questions in advance through social media and just by being expert show insiders. And I wanted to see if I could dive in with you on some of these questions.
Totally.
All
Totally.
right, very cool. And I just wanted to say hi real quick to Gloria, Charlene, and Tara and Jean, and Melissa and Brandon, who are watching us live right now on Facebook. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Okay, let's start with a question. I got lots of questions from new-ish moms. And I say new-ish because these aren't moms necessarily with like a newborn or a 6-month at home, but maybe someone who has a kid that's now a toddler. Denise Lear, for example, is saying, what are some of the best exercises for building your core muscles back up? Even a few years after giving birth, she says that's what she's struggling with right now. And that's actually a very similar question to what several people posted. The core muscles and the challenge with getting what feels like jello around your tummy tightened up after you have a baby or 4.
Right, a baby or 4, or just don't work out for a while and eat cake.
Yeah, that too.
You have to start from the beginning, and I think a great starter exercise is planks because it's not only total body but it has many different iterations. So depending on what level you're at, you can start on your knees on in your forearms just to get your strictly core, so front and back. So core people think are like, oh, I'm gonna get a 6-pack. No, but it's also your whole front and back, right? So that's strengthening your shoulders, your abdominal muscles, but also the muscles of the back, which are really important on that core stability too, which is so important for everything. Our back and our spine is the most important thing. It houses all of our organs from the wraparound of the rib cage. So planks are great. Also, just a static, if you're on your back and you're lifting your knees to the tabletop position at a 90-degree bend, and you use the strength of your hands. So you're pressing onto your thighs with your hands. So they're kind of as if your legs are a wall and your hands are like you're trying to push through that wall and trying to stop yourself from doing that. Just that engagement is super safe, but also really challenging.
So what
Just
period of time, though,
basics.
would you be doing these exercises? Like, is it realistic to start doing these exercises and expect to see a difference in a matter of weeks, or is it months? Or I know everybody's different, but
Right.
ballpark, when can you start seeing? Because I know when I've done planks before, I'm doing them and I'm thinking, there's no way this is actually going to help. How long do I have to do this for every day to
Right.
actually have it make a difference?
Yeah, I mean, you'll start to see that you can do what you started at 10 seconds and now you can do 30 seconds. Then you can hold it for a minute and you're like, "Oh my God, how much longer do I have to do this?" Right? But you start seeing you're getting stronger, and you might not see, you know, a 6-pack because that has a lot to do with not only nutrition but genetics too, right? Like not everyone, no matter the leanest person or the strongest person, has a 6-pack. So that might I think we need to reframe our goals as a human, right? Like what are you personally going for? But also you'll be able to see that strength increase within a week or two.
That's funny because one of the people on Facebook said, Robert, I think was his name, was saying, hey, I've had 5 kids and I still have my 6-pack abs. And it's like, hey, Robert, good for you. Keep that
Yeah,
up, buddy.
thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Robert. So another question that I have for you, which again stems directly from people who are interested in that expert show, has to do with time because we're all busy. Stay-at-home moms are very busy, and really you kind of put yourself on the back burner a lot of the time. Getting yourself in shape may be the very last thing on your agenda after you've put the kids down and wash the dishes and pack snacks for the next day. It's really hard to reserve time for yourself to get fit. Most of us don't have like 2 hours to go to the gym and devote that time to fitness for ourselves. So someone like Maria Valeri wants to know, what are the best exercises to be done if you only have 15 to 30 minutes a day at home?
Yeah, no, I mean, everyone's biggest challenge. I think number one is realizing you're the most important, right? If you don't feel good and if you don't take that time for yourself, even if it's 10 minutes, 5 minutes, that your family and your kids are going to be like, mom's not happy. Mom needs a minute to herself. So taking that time, setting the 5, 10, 30 minutes aside for yourself is so important. And then the best exercises, I would say if you only have that amount of time, doing interval work. So Tabata is an exercise format, right? So it's this doctor, his name's Dr. Tabata. He found that if you work out really intensely for 20 seconds and then you take a 10-second break and you do it in increments of 4 minutes. So, say you only have 8 minutes, you can do two sets of exercises that really you'll feel the next day that you did it. It's a really a lot of work. So, I would say plyometric exercises, which are explosive jumping exercises. So, if you did squat jumps for 20 seconds, you took a 10-second break and you did it again. And so you repeat that for 4 minutes. So you end up doing 8 rounds. That's an amazing way to get a workout in. And if you have 30 minutes, you do, my math is so bad. So 28 minutes, right? You do
Right.
4 different exercises. You can do that with push ups. You can do that with bicycle crunches. You can pick an exercise, stick with it for those 4 minutes. It's a really amazing workout.
That's an interesting point because I think in my mind, if I don't get a good like 30 to 45-minute workout, it's not even worth it. But you're
Right.
saying even if you have 10 or 20 minutes, if you're able to get yourself up to a certain level of intensity and take little breaks in between, that actually pays off. Potentially more than a 45-minute workout where I'm just kind of like halfway in.
Totally. I mean, sometimes if you think about it and you're at the gym for an hour and you're doing some exercises and then you're talking to Betty and then you're do a couple more and then Sam walks by, you're only working out for 28 minutes anyway. You might as well just go hard and really stay focused.
That makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so another topic that's really popular, and you're hearing about it everywhere right now, is this keto diet. I know diet fads are so interesting because it's like all of a sudden everybody's doing the Atkins diet and talking about how great it is. And now I feel like it's the keto diet. Everybody's saying, oh, they've lost this much weight with it, and it's been so easy for them to do that. I don't know that it is that easy, but we have a lot of people like Terry who wants to know pretty much anything having to do with the keto diet and whether, I'm not even sure, is this like the new intermittent fasting diet? And is it a good way to lose weight or is it really just a quick fix?
So here's the thing that you can kind of pretty much reserve the fact that any fad diet is just that, like the old standbys of like grandma's cooking and eating what's local and from the garden and a whole food is going to be the way to go over time sustainably. Now, there's the caveat to that of like everyone does want the quick fix. So the keto diet is what it's meant to do and does do if you do it correctly is to shift your body into ketosis, which is allowing your body to burn its own fat instead of taking that in and using the fat as fuel instead of carbs, right? So instead of eating carbohydrates and sweet potatoes and breads and all of that, you're now burning your body's fat for the day. It takes, if you're really in that state, it takes about 6 weeks to get into that state. So it's not an ideal diet sustainably for life, right? If this is, I always say, like, diet in Greek, because I'm Greek, means a way of life. So you don't want something that's a fad that you can only maintain for a short period of time. So I tend to say it depends, right? Some people are like, I do this, and it's their whole life, and they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
For a majority of people, that's not going to be able to be done. So it does work. It works really well. You will lose a lot of weight doing it, but it for me, I mean, I do that ish before competition, so before bodybuilding competitions. And yeah, I don't eat carbs and it does work and you lose a lot of weight, but am I willing to do that for my life? No. Um, so I would say you have to have balance, right? So that's super important to do something for yourself that will last. Our bodies also need carbs to function in our brains. So, like women who have been pregnant are like, oh, yeah, pregnancy brain is real. You almost are in that same state and put yourself in that state doing the keto diet because your brain doesn't have proper nutrition to function. So you're tired, you're forgetful. Those are a lot of side effects of people who are doing this diet.
That's actually a good point. We have a question from Charlene, who is a mom. I think she's up to like 3 or 4 kids now. I actually know Charlene. And she wants to know the balance in burning calories in eating healthy and nursing. And she's saying that it's a struggle to find the right combo as she's breastfeeding.
Yeah, you know what? Breastfeeding is typically women burn about 300 calories extra, 3 to 500 while they're breastfeeding. It's an amazing way also to tighten the abs back up because you release a hormone throughout breastfeeding that helps to allow those muscles to tighten back up even faster. So that's another bonus of breastfeeding. But women who have breastfed know they get really, really thirsty. So by staying hydrated, that's a huge factor in keeping weight off and not overeating. Because it's funny that not all the time doctors will tell us this, but the same hormone that's released to tell us that we're thirsty is the same to tell us that we're hungry. So it's a way of our bodies saying, like, okay, if you're not going to give me water to rehydrate, I'm going to get that water from the food to rehydrate my body. So that's kind of why that happened over time. But staying hydrated is an amazing way to keep those extra pounds off, even though you're burning all the extra calories, because you get really, really hungry breastfeeding because you're burning a lot of extra calories. But if you're looking, 500 calories isn't that much extra to eat, or 300, depending on, how your body burns. But it's like an apple and some broccoli, or, but you're like, oh, but I want to eat a cake. So therein lies the balance. But it really is. I think that a huge thing is staying hydrated. In the beginning of my clients training with me, I say right away, I'm like, drink 3 liters of water a day. That's my first thing that I make people do, no matter who they are, because we walk around dehydrated a lot, and we as people make up for that by eating more because we think we're hungry.
Which is actually like counter to the fact that you're dehydrated. And not only that, the things that we're drinking. I mean, if you're intaking a ton of caffeine, which is a dehydrator, then you're just making the situation worse for yourself throughout the course of the day.
100%.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Hey, we have some questions too. And by the way, I want to remind folks who might be watching this live, if you have a question for Dyan right now, feel free to comment, throw your question at me. We're monitoring the feed, so I will ask your question of Dyan and get you some answers. I want to thank Erica and Barbara and Shannon and Amy who are with us and watching the show right now as well. Have some questions from folks who are dealing with arthritis. And I think this is interesting because as people age, they still want to be fit and they still want to go out and, keep their weight down and be strong. And but someone like Sherry Osterio wants to know, how can she exercise and lose weight when she has arthritis? And someone else who is an Expert Show insider says that they've been told to walk for the arthritis and try to lose weight and firm up. Wants to know, will this actually help and will it work?
100%. So losing weight to help with arthritis, it takes pressure off the joints, right? So immediately that has a huge impact. People think I need to, like you were saying, you don't have 2 hours to work out. You don't need 2 hours to work out to lose weight. 90% has to do with food. So you change your diet. Also with arthritis, you want to reduce inflammation in the body. So things that cause inflammation are gluten, dairy, some people, eggs cause inflammation in the body, soy products cause inflammation. So you want to take a lot or as many of those out of your diet as possible, or reduce. People have I have to have my toast. That's great. So just have that and try and reduce throughout the rest of the day. But anything that's inflammatory in the body, you want to kind of shy away from, because that puts pressure on the joints and causes inflammation and pain. But yeah, your other expert insider is totally right. Walking's an amazing workout. Pool workouts, if that's accessible to you, is an amazing way to take pressure off the joints, but also get a great cardio workout and burn calories at the same time.
Yeah, pool therapy, I've heard, is incredible. It's interesting because you bring up food. We talk a lot about food, and like I'll admit, I have a huge appetite. Like I can out eat pretty much anybody, any one of my friends. Producer
Oh my God,
Kylie
let's do an
knows,
eating
like,
competition because we can, well,
yes, and
that's the next expert show.
right? I blame, my family of origin because we're just big eaters and food is huge in Chinese culture. When we get together, you go to Taiwan where I'm from and you will literally sit down for a 10-course meal. Like that's just a normal part of your day. So portion control, I will admit, is a huge struggle for me. Like if I'm sitting down and there's great food in front of me, I want to eat all of it. So
Mhm.
what strategy do you have when it comes to portion control and just trying to limit yourself and have that restraint? Because I am an admitted glutton and I know that Thanksgiving is just a few days away.
I know. I hate this question because it's also so hard for me too. I always say, like, my journey was, it taught me things every step of the way. And the first thing I did, which is like, people are like, you did lean cuisines. I used to eat lean cuisines because that at the time I graduated college in 2000 was like the thing to do. But what it does, like, might have so much sodium and all of not like ideal nutritional like quantities that I would want in my food now, but it taught me portion control and I struggle with that too. But what I do now, because I'll always have that, like if I don't feel full, something's wrong. If I'm not like totally topped off and there's still stuff in my plate, I'm like, no, there are starving children everywhere. I need to finish.
Right.
So I say, like, fill your plate with more of the good stuff. So when you're building your plate for Thanksgiving, fill it with salad, put the veggies on, tell whoever's cooking to like put aside before they put all the cheese and the butter and all of that stuff on, like save a bowl of just steamed broccoli for you, and then you can put however much topping goodness you want on it, but at least it allows you to know instead of just being jammed up with a stick of butter on your sweet potatoes that you weren't planning on and didn't even know was in there. So I think just have what you want. It's Thanksgiving, right? This is the time of year, and then one day isn't going to crush all of the whole rest of your year. So I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, but it's the holidays, but holidays doesn't mean like the one day of Thanksgiving and the one day of Christmas, or like the celebratory dinner of Hanukkah, or whatever is your gathering, or holiday parties, or all of that. It's like they give up from now until the end of the year
Yeah,
when they'll
yeah,
start
more or
again,
less.
and you can do
Yeah.
a lot of damage in 6 weeks. Like, you can really gain a lot of pounds
And see,
in
like the
this
holiday
time.
season
So
for me begins like on Halloween and just prior to Halloween when we buy all the candy that sits around the house and we eat it all up before we're actually able to give it out to the trick-or-treaters. So I know I'm not
totally.
alone in
And
that.
then May rolls around, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta put a bathing suit on. And then what's happened, right? Like,
Exactly. It's like the annual ritual. We've got another question from Melody, and this one is why it is so hard to lose weight when you are 60 years old. And I guess you can change that to, insert age, but I think she's kind of thinking like when you're on the other half of life, why does it get so much harder for people who are midlife and on to actually lose weight?
yeah, and that's a real thing. I think it's a couple of things that are compounded, and then it has an end result. I think as we get older, we start to get dehydrated, right? So our bodies start to shut down, and once you become dehydrated, if you're not putting water into your body by whatever means, through food that's hydrated with water, like a lot of veggies and fruits, or you're properly drinking a lot of water in the day, um, our bodies don't even trigger a thirst response anymore. So those hormones aren't even released anymore
Hmm.
because it's essentially your body's given up on you. And it starts to kind of shrink up over time. And that's why people, as they get older, start to wrinkle, is because their skin is dehydrated and organs and all of that, and our bodies need that water to function. Secondly, is habits develop. If working out and being hydrated aren't your daily habits through from 20 into 30s into 40s, these habits that we have in life become more solidified, right? Like I'm 40 years old and everyone's like, but you're not married. And then when you're not, we get set in our ways. And that's true if you're like a single person or if you're a non-worker arbiter. It's
Right.
harder to get into that habit again. So a 30-minute walk as opposed to, Tom's 2-hour workout that's his morning thing, and Sally swims for an hour every morning and she's super fit. Why is it so hard for me to do that? There are so many really fit 70, 80, 90-year olds. It's very rare, though, that someone will start training like that at that age. So it's harder. Our bodies also are breaking down a little bit more easily, so it's not as easy to gain that muscle mass at that age, but it's really possible. I compete in fitness competitions, and I will tell you that the 50 and over age range, I mean, they could be in the novice division. Their bodies are amazing,
That is
it's
so
it's
inspiring.
possible,
Yeah.
but I think it's habitually hard, but it's also more challenging because our metabolisms, they do slow down over time. But you have to feed your body well to do that.
All right, we have just one last couple of questions that are from folks who are wanting to more, understand just generally what they can do. And maybe this will just be your closing thought. For example, Brandon on Facebook wants to know what's just the best way to get fit? What are the general rules if you're living a busy life to get fit, maybe lose some weight, and maintain that weight loss over an extended period of time?
Totally. I think first thing, you have to get your cardio in, right? So I think 4 times a week, 30 minutes at a time. And that cardio can be a walk, it can be a jog, it can be, I'm a huge fan of an incline walk on a treadmill. I think that's like a great way. You can hold on, it's strength and endurance building. Um, I think if you can add in 2 sessions of weight training a week, even just if it's Tabata based, body weight, explosive movements, but adding weight to your workout really helps um, to keep muscle mass on the body, especially as we get older. And that helps to maintain bone density and balance and stability, which a lot of older people are prone to falling.
Mm-hmm.
And just staying healthy. I think if I could give 2 tips having nothing to do with working out, which people are like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. If I don't have to work out and I can be healthier, I say drink more water. Can you tell that's like a running theme? And then get sleep. Our bodies are meant to heal when we're sleeping. So if people always ask too, this is, I think, a good thing to touch on maybe, is that what about the times that I'm eating? I think best not to eat before, like right before bedtime. And that doesn't mean like if you're that type of person that's like, oh, I just want a snack, and that's fine. I'm totally on board with that. But if you're eating a really heavy meal right before you go to bed, your body, when it goes to sleep, is going to be working to digest that food instead of working to heal your body.
Hmm.
Right. So our bodies heal themselves at night. But if you're going to bed on a full stomach, they're going to spend a majority of that time digesting food for you instead of healing your own body. So I
Interesting.
think water and sleep, my like 2 tips. I think a third thing, if I was going to recommend it for people to do, is write down what you eat.
Hmm.
So when you start to see like, oh, a lot of people are like, oh, I had nothing to eat today, I'm starving at dinner time. Like, you had nothing all day. And they're like, well, I did have like a couple pieces of toast, and then I had like 3 handfuls of nuts, and then I did. You start to realize like, oh, I am eating at all these times, and that all adds up. So even just by writing down what you're having to eat, it'll show you what you're actually feeding your body. So I
Yeah.
think those things really, really help.
Interesting. All right. Hey, great information. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been enlightening, and there were some questions that we couldn't get to, but I'll invite you to go onto my Facebook page, Dyan, and answer them for the folks
For
that
sure.
posted them in advance of the show, because I'm sure they would love answers. And they were very specific questions about people who are recovering from cancer, for example, or people who are recovering from an injury that they got in a marathon race, and really like more tailored questions specifically to their situation. But thanks so much for being with us and sharing your information.
Thank you so much for having
All right, and thank
me.
you for being with us. We want to remind you that you could always connect with that expert show on our various social media platforms. We are on Facebook. We're doing our show live on Facebook. We're also on Twitter, and we are on Instagram at That Expert Show. So go ahead and like our profiles if you want to get information from us. And look, I know life is busy. Sometimes you just don't have time to catch a live show. So we'll always put this show back out to you on various platforms. We're on YouTube as That Expert Show. Go ahead and like that channel so you can get updates on all the shows. And frankly, it's easier sometimes just to listen to content. I know that because you're driving around town, dropping things off, going grocery shopping or whatever, and it might be easier just to find the podcast to listen to on Apple iTunes or Google Play, SoundCloud, wherever it is that you listen to content that you are consuming. Also, wanted to tell you the best way to connect with the show is actually to go to thatexpertshow.com, or you take out your phone and you send a text message with the word show, SHOW, to 474747. And that way I can connect directly to you. I'll always give you information about the next expert that we'll be interviewing. And when you do that, when you text the word show to 474747, I'll tell you how to get that special deal from the expert show at Shoe Mill, the company that I was talking about earlier. I am a big fan of this company. I just popped into the headquarters of Shoe Mill this last week, and I saw how the father of the company and his kids, they essentially run this whole operation together. Can you imagine that, running a family business like that? And they're all in pretty close proximity as well. I love this company because they believe in what they do. They have great shoes. And, you know, I'm at the age where I'm willing to invest a little bit in my footwear because I feel like I'm worth it. And so if you agree and you want to check out their shoes, go to shoemill.com or go to one of their stores if you're here in Oregon. And, you know, I guarantee that you'll find something that you like. So, hey, thanks so much for joining us. Go ahead and like this and maybe share it on your profile with your friends and family if you got something out of this show and feel like you can share that information with them as well. And we'll see you next time for the next episode of That Expert Show, where you help run the show.